Welcome to the podcast. We Do Recover with Jared Miller, your host.
And I'm Dr. Terry Sellers, your co-host.
This is a podcast about recovery from addiction.
We want to talk about what successful recovery can look like.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center, Rise Up Subs, and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 148. 148. We are in the month of April, right? No?
March.
April's coming up. March. That's right. This weekend, we have Easter. I hope everybody has a fun and safe Easter weekend. That's super, super fun. I'm planning on doing a little egg hunting myself, a little Easter basket. So I'm excited, eating plenty of chocolate. So hopefully you're with me if you're listening to this. Let's have a very fun Easter weekend. All right, shifting gears here, episode 148. For episode 148, I have a guest that is joined us here in studio today. Her name is Theresa Schopp. Theresa, how are you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to have a guest in here. We're missing Dr. Sellers. He's not here this week, but
not really. Not missing him at all.
And there's Sean Denovan, our producer. So I'm excited. To get to Theresa's journey of recovery. Before that, though, episode 148, part 1 is brought to us by our sponsors, Steps Recovery Centers. Steps Recovery Centers is an adult substance abuse and mental health treatment provider. Steps Recovery Centers provides all levels of care. They have a medical detox facility, multiple residential treatment centers, and outpatient services reaching from the top of Utah to the bottom. Recovery starts with you, and at Steps Recovery Centers, there is always hope. Do me a favor. If you or a loved one need help, please reach out to them. Call them at 801-800-8142 or visit their website at stepsrc.com to learn more. We appreciate them sponsoring this podcast. Episode 148, part 1 is also brought to us by Rise Up Supplements. Rise Up Supplements is a nootropic line aimed at optimizing brain function and supporting mental health. They have 2 powerful blends. Mindful Mood helps decrease anxiety and enhance mood. Mind Shift helps increase focus and optimize brain function. Place your order today at riseupsups.com. That's RISEUPS.com.
Hey, you have like a little chat function here.
Okay.
On the page, on your Rise Up Sub. So I tried saying, hey, is Jared there?
Well, I'm in a podcast right now, so
I
I'll
know,
get to that.
But then they wanted other stuff like my blood type and whatnot. So
yeah,
I'll get that to them later.
Okay. Yes. So here's the thing. This podcast would not be possible if it wasn't for sponsors, right? Like somebody's got to pay the bills, and I don't got enough money to do it. So we appreciate Steps Recovery Centers, the Hilton Garden Inn, and Rise Up Supplements being sponsors and making this possible for amazing individuals like Theresa to come on and share her story of recovery and spread a little experience, strength, and hope, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Theresa, we're going to dive into your story. But before that, let's practice a little positive psychology. Let's ease into this thing. Start me off with what's new and good in your life today.
Since I've only been here, since I feels like I just got here, but I've been here since last August. But I think
here is in living in St. George, Utah?
Yeah.
Or like in the you've been in the studio since last August?
No. Sorry,
No,
St. George.
Okay. Just teasing.
And so what's new and good, I think is so I'm a very networky type of person. I love people. And so to be a person in recovery and work at a dental office where a lot of people come in, I've seen recently, I wear my little NA ring.
Love that.
And so when I hand them their paperwork, it's kind of my way of letting them know it's okay. Like you can talk to me because they're going to get full mouth extractions. They're going to get dentures and they're not going to take anything.
Yeah. And you're like, this is a safe space.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I know. I get it.
So that's just it's happened a lot lately. So that's new and good. I kind of like it.
That's so cool. One of the getting teeth is like such a huge part of somebody's self-esteem and confidence and turning their life around, being able to hold down a job. And man, it's crazy how, that's such a early recovery thing for sure. That's awesome. I didn't know that you worked at a dental office.
Yeah.
Super
I won't
cool.
give the shameless plug.
We appreciate, we appreciate you, being somebody that can be there for them. That's awesome. All right, Denovan, what's new and good in your life? Don't give me the old Eeyore thing either, dude.
Oh, what Eeyore thing? No.
Nothing. No.
Oh, jeez.
jeez. Hey, you know the voice of Eeyore is actually the same voice of Optimus Prime?
Get out of here.
Totally true. Look it up.
Really?
Peter Cullen. Yeah.
That is fascinating.
I know. You see? So when I'm acting like Eeyore, I'm actually acting like a Transformer robot truck thing. No, anyways, no, she went home. We talked last week about my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so ran home last week to go spend some time with him, and he is getting a proper diagnosis this coming week, so I get another trip out to San Jose. But dinner with family, siblings were there. We laughed, we scratched, we ate, we giggled. Everything was, not much else you can ask for.
That's awesome. Some bonding time.
So it was really
Quality
good. So
family.
I got a whole lot more trips to San Jose over the next probably 2 to 6 months. So we will see. But these are all good things, and banking good memories and spending good time with my dad.
Yeah, love that. We talked about that last time, and I really am. I'm genuinely excited that you have the opportunity to spend these precious months with him while you got him.
I agree.
Yeah.
I remember early recovery. That was one of my reservations.
What was that?
Is if I ever lost my mom, anything ever happened. So luckily I was 10 years clean when that happened.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal for sure. Thanks, Denvin. Appreciate it. So my new and good. I recently, me and my wife, we made a financial decision to purchase some dirt bikes. So that's been super fun. I've ridden throughout my childhood, but I'm teaching her to ride. And we recently this weekend got invited through somebody I know in the fellowship who's actually been a guest on this podcast. That's what I love about the fellowship. To go out and do some camping and some dirt bike riding. And so, yeah, that's my new and good is I'm getting ready to do some gripping and ripping on a dirt bike after this podcast. It'll probably be tomorrow morning, to be honest. I got a couple things, you got to do some grocery shopping for camping and all that. But yeah, I'm excited. It's fun stuff. So that's what's new and good in my world. Getting ready to hurt myself on a dirt bike.
We grew up with motorcycles too.
Did you?
Yeah.
They're so fun. They are so fun. My wife, she's so cute. She was learning how to ride, and she tipped over, which is common. She tried going up something in the wrong gear. She tipped over. She broke the handlebar, and she gets up, and she's like, "Why did we buy these stupid things?" But since then, we've gone out, and she's getting the hang of it, and so it's fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Small joys of life. All right. Feel like we're getting the nerves out?
Yeah.
You didn't even have nerves, girl. You're ready to get this. All right. So, Theresa, you're on a podcast about recovery from addiction, which tells me either you or a loved one has a story of recovery from addiction. What does that look like for you?
That was me.
That's you.
Yeah. So my mom, at the earliest age I can remember, they owned a liquor store, which is fine, but they ended up selling that and bought a bar.
So you're from California.
I'm from California.
Okay. So childhood in California, growing up.
When I was a little kid, they could buy methamphetamines, I think, in jugs, and they would take pills.
Really?
Yeah. And my mom told me a story, this is way after I got clean, that she took a pill, and she was like 4'11", little thing.
Yeah.
And she got so high that she locked me and my brother in the house with her for 2 days till she came down. She never used again, but my dad did. So at the age 33, he ended up having a heart attack and passing away. Yeah. So that was the beginning of stuff I've learned in my step work.
Yeah. So it sounds like from childhood, like some of this stuff was just normal.
Yeah.
Like alcohol for sure was, right? Because they owned a liquor store and they owned a bar.
Oh, and you have no idea what it's like to be the bar owner's daughter.
Is that worse than the bishop's daughter? I don't know. Or the priest's daughter?
Perspective.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I learned, right? Those are the things that my mom taught me. She taught me that, alcohol is okay, how to be a productive member of society, no matter how bad you are. And so like I said, motorcycles were a part of our childhood. And my brother was 3 years older than me, and so I was a freshman, he was a senior, his girlfriend was a sophomore, and we were all crazy, right? In high school, everybody partied.
I feel like everybody's crazy in high school, even without drugs.
Right.
Because of hormones.
And then I had a couple kegers in there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're bound for some chaos.
Yeah. And so my brother ended up dying in a motorcycle accident 18 days before his birthday. And my mom was letting us throw this big old keger. And that was the beginning of my shoving it under the carpet. That's what my mom taught me how to do. She didn't talk about it. She couldn't say his name. All his friends came over. We found hash in his drawer. And
So
we smoked it in memory of,
Shoving it under the rug.
feelings. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We did not talk about his death. We did not say his name. She went off to just go crazy into her alcoholism. And, she taught me that men don't stay, right? My dad died. My brother died. She had men that she dated in the bar. She was a single mom. And the best I remember about high school is coming home and fighting with her. What we fought about, I have no idea.
tell you?
No idea. Yelling and screaming in the middle of the night, whoever came home, and that's kind of the way it was.
Yeah.
And we would go visit the flagpole or the telephone pole where he hit and just get all drunk or high. And the street light was probably going out, but we thought it was a sign.
Got ya.
Yeah.
Got ya.
And
It's interesting though that people like in memory of let's get. Was he intoxicated when he passed away?
oh yeah, they had robbed a Coors train. And so the kegger party at the park had run dry. So they went back to his friend's house to get some Coors that they had robbed from the Coors train and bring it back up, and then got chased by the cops on their way back.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. It's interesting though that's like not a very uncommon thing is people are like, oh, this is in memory of, and yet in a weird way, that's what took their loved one's life in the first place.
Oh, and I did crazy things. Get all drunk and ride a motorcycle just to prove a point, in the middle of the night, whatever. Yeah. And then
Would you say at this age though, so two questions come to mind. Number one, the first time you consumed a chemical, I'm assuming it was alcohol.
7th grade weed?
Okay, marijuana. Were you like, this is it? Were you like, if I could feel like this forever, I would just be content? Or were you like...
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember. And that's one of the things my sponsor has always told me when you're sharing, like, don't just go through the what happened, but try and remember how you felt in those times.
Right.
And the 7th, I don't remember
Okay, it's a blur.
any of that. Yeah. But I do remember falling down at school and my head sounding like a bowling ball because I was just so high off of weed. It was 7th grade. Yeah.
Well,
and
in California, consuming weed is like us in Utah eating broccoli, though, right? I mean, isn't it like that's kind of...
Yeah, well, I'm 58, so 7th grade was a long time ago.
Okay, so when you're talking about like high school, right? Mm-hmm. Your brother's using, his girlfriend's using, you guys were kind of partying together, you said. At this point, is it recreational though, or is this an addiction?
This is where it all started. Everybody could use a little, like a quarter gram of Coke would last, the weekend?
Okay.
In high school. And then everybody wanted some, and everybody wanted some, and then I liked it better, and then we ran into, back then it was called crank, and then the key was that my dealer told me, here, you're coming over way too much. Take this and bring me back the money.
Interesting.
Yep. And that's when it all started for me. I think it was an era where dealing drugs wasn't really for women. Just like when my mom owned the bar, it wasn't really for women.
Yeah.
And, but I did it good. I was good at it. And, but on the flip side of that, right, comes with lying, cheating, stealing, people robbing you, your friends only, I mean, they're not really your friend, everything you learn later on, but.
All the negative consequences.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's interesting. The reason, and maybe I'm just being a geek here, but the reason why I like to differentiate is because I believe that there are people out there that use recreationally or socially, and then they turn and they look at somebody who truly has a physical dependency, aka an addiction, and they're like, oh, well, I can just stop whenever I want it. Well, that's because you never crossed the line of recreational or social versus physical dependency, right?
Oh no, I was. So
I always try to keep those separate. Like it sounds like it started off recreationally in high school, right? Some traumatic things happened. Brother passed away, dad passed away, and then you started.
But
using
I
daily.
remember. So those times when you can't get it, right? I needed a cop. Nobody had anything, and I would cry, like literally cry because I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't
This is in
move.
high school.
No, this is after high school.
Okay.
This is down the road when we
this is
started
after
dealing the
you've-
drugs. Yeah, in high school it was recreational. It was to cover up. It was the mask, right?
Yeah.
To cover up all the feelings, all the emotions, not knowing that I was becoming dependent upon it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when it turned to crank, yeah,
That kind of consumed your life.
Yeah.
It became your identity, right? A lot of people don't realize when you're selling it and you're so deep into that world, it's who you are.
and
Or at least we mistake ourselves for,
right.
yeah.
And I remember though in high school living with my mom, I almost forgot about this. So my dealer that had me like come back later with the money,
Sure.
he,
Which that dude knew what he was doing.
right.
Like,
oh, first
come
one's
on, man.
free.
Yeah. Okay.
So I ended up somehow dating a guy who was shooting drugs. I had no idea. I was so naive. Didn't know like all these knots on his arms were from missing and all this stuff. Didn't know like how abusive it was going to get. And I would go home to my middle class mom family. We lived in San Carlos, California. And I would go home with broken teeth and black eyes.
Oh, wow.
But she would be so in her own disease that I could make up a story and it made sense, you know.
She just took
Yeah.
it hook, line, and sinker.
And so in order to get away from him, I remember he would chase me and my cat. His brother would chase me around with crowbars because he didn't like me, supposedly, but he was jealous of whatever. It was just insanity, right? It's insanity.
Yeah, insanity.
And I had to go to my dealer and say, you have to help me get away from this guy. Like, can you set him up with somebody? Do something. I don't remember how I eventually got away from him, but I did. And then I ended up just moving in with my dealer, you know, and we did, you know, the step outside, safe in the ground. Like, it was the life.
Got ya.
Yeah. And
So where does it go from there?
so the first
you're
time I
living
got
with your
arrested,
dealer.
yeah,
Yeah.
the first time I got arrested, we hung out at a bar called the Loading Zone down in Redwood City, California.
Okay.
And I don't even remember how I got caught that time, but I ended up doing 30 days. I worked for a title company. I did 30 days in the county jail, and I did work furlough. So I went to work, and I'd come back to jail, and I'd draw on my mattress.
Okay.
Actually, I learned how to crochet.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have it. It's about this wide and 6 feet long. I got out early. It's just, unfortunately, I went back to drugs. So I have a bunch of little things that I started and never finished.
Yeah.
Couldn't crochet to save my life if I tried now. But
So you're in the work release program,
yeah, work for
doing
low.
30 days.
Yeah,
Was that like enough of a reality check
Nope.
or a smack in the face to?
nope,
There's no scared straight for Theresa.
nope. Went straight to the bar when I got out. Picked up where I left off, right?
Yeah.
And then just a life of crime and drugs and alcohol and lying and cheating, stealing. And we were the type of, I would used to think I should have a scale at my front door and weigh them in, right? Because if you weigh more when you leave, you're ripping me off. Because I was a thief, right? I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
going to my friends and stealing his mom's dresses, and they were like, didn't even fit me.
To be fair, like some of that thought pattern or thought process falls right in line with paranoid thinking, which if you're using crank or methamphetamine, you're going to have some paranoid thoughts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was the tweaker. Yeah. Looking through the
You were the
blinds, they're
paranoid.
following me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So life went on like that. And then in 1987,
Year after I was born.
oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. Theresa was not prepared for that.
I worked at a bowling alley
Okay.
and I babysat the kids. And this is just, I know I don't glorify war stories, but it's funny. I had a purple convertible Volkswagen. I'd put the top down. I'd throw down my VCR and my Dremel, my toolbox,
Okay.
glow-in-the-dark pens, black lights, and I'd bring all this stuff for the kids to play with. It was really probably for me just to play with them, right? I'm back there dremeling bowling pins and bowling balls out of plastic. I had them paint in the other room and glow-in-the-dark paint and then turn on the black light. So I got home one night and we used to call them lops, I don't know, some tweaker
Okay.
wanted a ride to the store. And I said, sure, I'll give you a ride. No, I needed a ride to the store. I went in his car. He was wanted. We got pulled over. I had my scale, my dope, a flashlight full of bindle, little baggies of crank, and the cut, the everything on me. Not sure, who's thinking at that time, right? At that point, I'm just out of my mind.
Well, we know when there's an addiction in the brain's not using its cognitive frontal cortex, right? So you weren't thinking, for sure.
Yeah. And so that was the first day of the rest of my life. So that's my
Interesting.
clean date, September 7th, 1995.
Really?
Yeah. And it was very interesting. Like, I didn't do jail well. I cried.
So what did that look like? You got arrested for possession and probably for distribution, or no? Okay.
Yeah, intent to sales, I think it's a
So that-
CH, whatever. I don't
So
remember
that's
the
not a
code.
30-day sentence.
No.
It's going to carry a little bit more time.
Yeah, luckily I only did 4 months.
Where did
I
you-
got 6, did like 4 on 6.
Okay. You got
It's-
sentenced to 6. You served 4. At what facility?
San Mateo County Women's Correctional Center.
Okay. What was that like?
So actually, I had a friend who was like 18 days clean. I remember she told me she was 18 days, and I was like sad, like I lost my best friend. But then when I went to jail, she encouraged me to sign up for the program. I don't know how she did. Maybe I called her. I don't even remember, but I did. There was a program in the jail called Choices. Have you ever heard of Delancey Street?
Sure.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, they were. It was run by a graduate of Delancey Street, Shirley Lamar, and she saved my life. Her and Terry Delaney saved my life. Like, I think if I would have gotten the easier, softer way, I would have manipulated my way through it or fell through the cracks.
I totally get that.
They would not let me cry. Right?
They wouldn't
would-
let you cry?
No, they thought I was trying to manipulate them by my tears. Oh, yeah,
I
they
see.
cussed you
Okay.
up and down, because Delancey Street, they're going to tear you down and then build you back up.
Yeah.
Choices,
they're going
they
to
had to
shame
be-
you into
right.
recovery.
Shave your head. I was on contract. I had to like clean the tiles with a toothbrush before.
That's how it was. It was old school. It was very much like break you down to build
Yeah.
you up. Yeah.
And that's where I learned a lot. I remember Terry doing a group, and she's yelling and screaming and cussing at everybody. And she goes, "And you?" And I'm like, I look behind me. I'm sitting against a wall. Apparently, she's talking to me. And she goes, "If you don't start speaking up for yourself, you're gonna effing die."
Wow.
And right, it wasn't until I worked a lot of steps that I figured out what that meant.
Yeah.
But and there's a whole part of like my story where I get why I didn't have a voice, right? If you would have asked me what's my favorite, where do you want to go for dinner? I don't know. Where do you want to go?
You were very passive.
Yeah. But I also learned about killer character defects in there, right? I was a gossiper, right? I knew how to talk smack about you because that's all I knew how to do, and it made me feel better about me.
Sure.
I was a manipulator. I would call. So they had this thing. They had a box
This is in treatment.
in the program in jail.
Okay.
Okay, and so when they were not in the dorm or in the program, if something happened, instead we weren't allowed to confront each other. We could put you in the box, right? And then during group, we would get called out, right? And so that gave you the opportunity to tell them before they came up to take accountability. Hey, look, somebody put me in the box, or somebody else to save your life by telling on you, by putting you in the box.
So there was a box in the dorm for when you were not programming. And let's say I knew you were doing something you shouldn't be doing. I could write Theresa on a slip and put it in the box and kind of anonymously call you out.
Right. You'd have to put what the issue was.
Got ya.
Yeah. And so,
That is brilliant, actually.
yeah. And so they had this little room called the phone booth, right? It was outside the dorm past the sheriff's desk and in a room where there was a telephone. We called it the phone booth. And you would they gave us haircuts, which meant they were just going to yell so loud our hair would blow back. And so I got put in the box and I didn't know, right? So that's how, it's not that I was trying to be that way. It was just a behavior that I had. It was a survival skill.
Sure.
And I was on the phone with my grandma saying, like, anything happens to my cats, I'm going to kill myself. What? Right?
And that's why
Somebody
you got
heard
put-
me. They put me in the box because I was manipulating my family.
Which in a way we can look at this. We're coming up on break here in about 30 seconds, but and this is golden. I love this. We're going to definitely come back to it. in a way, it's like, oh, that sucks that I'm in trouble. But also in a way, it teaches you how to take accountability and it teaches you responsibility.
Right.
But I'm sure at the time you weren't like thinking that, right?
No,
You're like, who
I
put me in the box?
Yeah, I'm gonna fist fight you.
Yeah, snitches get stitches. All the dumb.
What do they say now? I'm gonna cut you.
Right. This has been fascinating. Please join us for part 2 of episode 148. Teresa's going to continue with her story.
You are listening to We Do Recover with Jared Miller and co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. We'll be right back after this short break with more of We Do Recover with Jared Miller. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center, Rise Up Subs in the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
If you or your loved one is trapped in the cycle of addiction, there is a way out.
At Steps Recovery Center in Utah, we believe in second chances and new beginnings. Our evidence-based treatments, compassionate staff, and supportive community guide you on the path to recovery.
It is time to reclaim your life. Take the first step towards freedom, resilience, and a brighter tomorrow. Reach out to Steps Recovery Centers today.
Recovery starts with you, and at Steps, there is always hope. Call us or visit our website to learn more.
We welcome you back to We Do Recover with Jared Miller, co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center, Rise Up Subs in the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. And now with part 2 of our podcast, Jared Miller and Dr. Terry Sellers.
Theresa is a ball of fire. And I hope if you've been listening to this so far, you're having as much fun as I've had with her. She's talking about all the stuff that makes most people uncomfortable, which I absolutely love because it's stuff that we just need to normalize and talk about. To get over kind of that shame. And also, I'm sure there's somebody out there that thinks, oh man, nobody could ever understand what I've been through. Well, listen to Theresa's story because she's been through quite a bit herself. So we're going to dive back into that. Before that, episode 148, part 2 is brought to us by our sponsors, the Hilton Garden Inn. It is always sunny and bright at the Hilton Garden Inn. If you're traveling through southern Utah, pull up the old Google, give them a Google search. If you stay there and you enjoyed your stay, give them a 5-star review. The Hilton Garden Inn in St. George, Utah. We appreciate them sponsoring this podcast. Theresa,
Yes.
We're talking about you've hit rock bottom. You're incarcerated in California. You're doing they call it programming.
Right. It's my first bottom, by the way.
Okay. So we got more bottoms.
I got a bottom in recovery.
Fascinating.
It has some serious step work.
And I love that because we got the rest of the podcast to talk about what that looks like. And I also love that we're spending a good amount of time on the solution and not the problem. Okay. So you're doing programming, you get put in the box, which, by the way, I might just adopt that idea at my outpatient operation.
I can't wait to tell Shirley.
That's rad.
So she pulls me into the phone booth and she asks me if I'm, it's Delancey Street, so they swear. So she's like, are you effing suicidal? And I was like, no, why? And she breaks out and she tells me that somebody put me in the box and said that I was going to kill myself if something happened to my cats. And she told me, what I learned is that's a way of manipulation to get what I wanted.
Correct.
With my family or whoever I'm trying to manipulate. So.
Yeah, it's being an emotional terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So, however, as a substance abuse and mental health counselor, I wouldn't recommend somebody approaching somebody with, are you going to mother F and kill yourself? Right?
Right. Well, yeah. That's Delancey Street. They're not 12-step,
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
The good old behavior modification way. Yeah.
We're going to beat you with a 2x4 until you surrender.
So, and then just, one more story. It was Shirley, she was a big black woman and a loud voice and yelled a lot, but we were watching, I think, Shawshank Redemption one Sunday, right? And she came in on her off time, and I just wanted to grab her by the leg and say, please don't leave. It was the only discipline I had ever had in my life, and I truly knew that she cared. I'm actually going to start crying.
That's beautiful.
I knew that she cared, and that's why she yelled at me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they only have you for a short period of time in jail. So they don't break you down that bad like Delancey Street. So they build you back up right away. And so when I got out, I ended up building her a website.
Let's also clarify, breaking somebody down typically is just letting them know what they can and can't do,
Right.
what behavior is and is not acceptable. Right. Like, I don't want anybody to think like, they're doing psychological torture, right? It's like, hey, check it out. We have boundaries. We have rules. You're either going to follow them or you're going to exit the program.
Well, and if you continue that behavior while you're in the program, these are the consequences.
Exactly.
And for them, it was washing tiles with grout with toothbrushes.
I might also adopt that too. That's rad.
And I did it, and it worked.
Okay, my setting's a little different than that setting. I don't think any of my clients would do that, but I love it. It's behavior modification.
Sure.
It's old school.
Yeah.
But I also understand it. And
Yeah.
it sounds like for you, it worked because it correct me if I'm wrong, but for the first time in your life, you had discipline.
Yeah.
You had structure. You had clear boundaries. You had somebody else that had expectations for you that were higher than you had for yourself.
And taught me. My mom never, bless her, love her, but she was an alcoholic, so she never taught me the right thing.
She might not have ever been taught it.
Right.
How do you teach somebody something that you don't know?
Yeah.
So this is like generational change, which is going to make
Yeah.
me cry. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
So when I got out, did alumni, and still the behavior, our alumni groups, I was a jewelry whore because I was still like accepting jewelry from guys without commitment, and I had to give it back. All these things you learn, right? Just learning, right? I don't think anything, I've done a lot. I've gotten in a lot of trouble in my recovery, but none of them are mistakes. They're all lessons. I cannot look at them as mistakes.
It's a great perspective.
So
If more people could understand that, they would do so much better because they would silence that inner critic that says, I'm never going to do this. I can't do this. This is too hard. I love that. You didn't make mistakes.
right. And
There were lessons.
I've learned that though.
Yeah, it comes with time and
it's
wisdom.
about your identity, right? The difference between shame and guilt,
Absolutely.
right? Guilt is healthy. That's our higher power or whatever is motivating you to do the next right thing, versus shame is like, oh my gosh, I've done this. This is who I am. I'm never going to change.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
worthless.
doomed. Yeah. So I got involved in NA early on in my recovery. I had a counselor who told me, for every war story, I want to hear a recovery story.
Beautiful.
So I couldn't talk. No, me and my friend would do stupid things. We don't have time, but I'll teach you afterwards. But we would do things like she'd get those accordion buses, right?
Yeah.
She'd get on the front of the bus, I'd get on the back, it'd go around a corner. Woo, where'd you go? So that was a story. Stupid, but it was a story.
And with the limited recovery experience you had, those are stories you could tell.
Right. And then she let me help her be the coffee maker for a meeting. And we'd get there early and teach ducks how to drink water out of a styrofoam cup.
That is rad. Help me understand this, though. You get released from an incarceration facility. You've been doing this programming. How do you make the connection to NA? And did you go back to the same environment that you were using and running and gunning in?
No. So my mom
Because there's a lot in there
house.
in and of itself, I bet.
Right. Yeah. My mom let me stay at her house. And she didn't trust me. She had no reason to.
Sure.
Because she kicked me out when I was in high school because I had bindles in my closet. They were non-folded. They were folded and empty. They were folded and full.
Okay.
And so I had to sleep in her garden shed, and I got kicked out. So it was tough, and I felt like I was on mushrooms when I got out. It was so eerie because I had never been without a substance in my body in the real world.
So reality was foreign
Weird.
to you.
Yeah. I just felt like I was on a sci-fi movie or something.
Yeah, interesting. So how do you get involved with NA?
So my friend that was 18 days clean, when I got out of jail, but I don't know, they let you out at midnight. I don't know who thought of that. It's not the smartest thing to do.
Well,
but
so they can collect their state money and government money for
1201.
one more day.
Yeah. So it was my mom, my grandpa, and my friend with a purple Christmas stocking because it was the holidays with a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous in it. And she was involved in NA and AA. And so she let me borrow her sponsor. She let me help her with her meetings. She just took me. I don't know if I would have made it if she wouldn't have guided me because I was so scared. I had no clue.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
She took you under her wing.
Mm-hmm. And her sponsor, they were huge in service. Huge. Like they were big in service. They had 1 million years clean.
Good for her for doing a little 12-step practice.
Yeah. And you know, for as long as I can remember, she would call, as we grew, like we would sit on her bed and cry with the feelings chart.
Okay.
I don't know what what I'm feeling, and try and identify and wait for rides and cry. I mean, we just were going through all the emotions. And so that's when I just got involved with service.
Cool.
And I remember running for secretary of a meeting and crying because I didn't think I was going to get elected. Dude, nobody was running against me. Come on, get over yourself. But I was just a bucket of emotions. And I did. And so part of my story is I hid behind service, right? I can remember going to parties when I was younger with something to bring to the table because I didn't think I was accepted for me. Right. So if I bought a 12 pack or a quarter gram or whatever it was, you'd
were
let
only
me.
worth what you could contribute.
Right.
Ooh.
So being a coffee maker, right, the most important person in the meeting, well, that's my job because I needed to be needed.
I get it.
And it gave me a barrier. I could stand back here and serve you and not be vulnerable. Right. And,
so you literally did hide behind your service work. It's like I have this responsibility. I can't actually connect or be vulnerable or like let you know who I am because I'm busy.
Right. Yeah. And I did really like service work, like hit hard behind service. I was like the NCCNA, which is like our SWACNA, right? Registration vice chair. Now our conventions have like 5,000 people. So that was a big job and it kept me busy. I did all my step groups. We used the unapproved Blue Book literature back then, and
you're such a rebel even in your recovery. The unapproved Blue Book version.
I know. And I didn't have a sponsor. Like I said, I did it in groups because it helped me. Not because I was one of those. If you only knew who I was, or I'm not good enough, you're not going to like me, and a
lot of self-defeating thoughts.
Yeah. And didn't even think I was good enough to do service, but it allowed me to be there.
Yeah.
And
to be honest, it sounds like this is the first time that you're trying to break into some kind of social group outside of drug use, right? And so nobody wants to feel ostracized.
Right.
Nobody wants to feel like they're the odd duck out. So you're doing kind of these people-pleasing things to fit in. Right. Just like instead of bringing the 12-pack to the party, now you're the coffee maker to help, right? And at the same time, you're also not technically doing the deal with the sponsor.
Right.
Because that would be too scary.
Right. I was just going to say all that attention I've ever wanted all of my life. And then you get a sponsor. That is uncomfortable because it's all about me. You know what I mean?
You can't hide when it's one-on-one.
So I didn't get one.
Got ya. How'd that work out for you?
Not so good.
Okay.
So,
but good for you. You're doing the deal.
But on the flip side of that, I mean, our activities committee was amazing. We had dances and we went to camping trips. I mean, there was tons of fun in it too. I mean, there was tons of fun. The pictures that I find, I'm like, oh my gosh, we were crazy. And we would laugh. I mean, we had more fun than, the serious, I wasn't doing my step work stuff. Yeah.
Right. Sounds like it was more fun than peeking through the, blinds and weighing people as they come in and out. Yeah. There's a theme on this podcast that tragedy plus time equals humor. So yeah, we can look at it and laugh today. And I cherish that.
So to like fast forward, I started going to a 12-step Christ-centered recovery meeting, and it was amazing. We had a band and then teaching, and then we'd share like a regular meeting.
Yeah.
And tons of recovery. NAA, treatment centers would come, the women's house and the men's house, because they all wanted to see each other. So the place was packed all the time. Yeah. But so I ended up meeting my now ex-husband at that meeting.
Okay.
But ended up getting married. And
this is all still in California.
This is all in California. I've only been in Utah for maybe 2
That's right.
years. Yeah.
I apologize.
It's okay. So remember, I don't have a sponsor. I've barely worked my steps. And here's where that first, if you don't start speaking up for yourself, you're going to die comes in.
Okay.
I was hanging out with this guy. We're Christian recovery. Actually, he's recovered because he went through a program, stopped going to meetings, so he's cured.
Fatal mistake.
And we hung out so much, and then you can hide behind Christianity too, right?
Sure.
All my regular friends are like, "You're not going to try the shoe on, see if it fits before you the whole thing, because there's no sex before marriage."
Right.
And so when he one day asked me if I would marry him, I didn't know how to speak up for myself. I didn't even know. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't realize, instead of not hurting him in the moment, I was going to hurt him for the next 7 years. Because I said yes. We had the biggest recovery junior high church wedding on the planet, because he worked at the church. And it was great. It was a big party, but then life after that was a facade.
So in reflection, in hindsight, as you look back, you genuinely didn't want to marry him. It was more kind of that defective character, that people pleasing, that passiveness. That's
still not working my steps and knowing what I want or who I am.
Wow, that's a powerful message to the listener.
Right, because all I ever had in high school was the same guy, but only one night, and then I would leave in the morning because I didn't feel like I was worth staying for, because all the men in my life either died or left.
Right. So that was
my
your past
dad
programming.
died. That my brother died, and then all my mom's boyfriends from the bar never stayed.
Sure.
So why
that was normal,
right? Yeah, that was normal. And then, so
you're married.
Yes, this is where it gets good. This is where the beginning of my recovery starts. So
And how clean are you at this time, or abstinent?
So when I got married, I was like 10 years clean or something, 5 years clean.
Let's see. Grip of time.
13. What's 13 minus 7?
13
6?
minus 7, carry the 1.
6. 7, 8, 9,
6.
10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so I have 6 years clean.
Yeah.
And then we were married for 7 years. And he worked at the church, and at some point he decided to leave the church. And so we'd have to switch churches. Otherwise, people would continue to ask him for help because he's still there, right?
Okay.
So we started going to this other church, and my I'm starting to get a feel of what I want to do in life, and what makes me happy is recovery and church. So if I could just sit in church or a recovery meeting all day, I'd be happy.
Okay.
Now, mind you, so a really important part that I totally skipped over, which is a part of my dental assisting choice, was I became bulimic when I got out of jail, because I stopped using the drugs and I gained all the weight. But I didn't know it till I was like 5 years clean, because I had that, I'm not that bad. It's only for 12-year-olds. I didn't grow up like this. So I'm not bulimic. I just do it every now and then.
Got you. So you were doing some justification and rationalization. Yeah.
And so at some point I thought, okay, so now I'm like figuring it out, and I know I'm doing wrong. It's the darkest addiction with endorphins. When you
bulimia.
Yes, when you act out, you get your own different kind of high from that. And nobody knew.
Okay.
And so I thought, if I become a dental assistant, our pastor, who is an elder at a church, good friend of my husband's, he'll find out, because he'll see it in my teeth, right? Because I heard it makes your teeth go bad. It's just random, has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but that's the mindset I'm in, right?
That also tells me that you want to get help for it. You want somebody to know. You don't want to keep it a secret.
Guilt, right.
Yeah.
Because, and I got involved in church retreats and recovery retreats.
We got 8 minutes.
Okay.
Girl.
So anyways, let's go fast then. So what happens is we end up, I got a job at the church. Didn't realize that he started staying late and coming early and staying home late. And at one point when we were doing our office meeting, he turned around, he was exposing himself in the chair. Now I ran across.
This is your pastor,
this
not
is
your
my
husband.
pastor, my boss. Yes.
Got it.
Now mind you, I've come in times yelling and screaming like, I can't do this anymore. If you have to fire me because I want to divorce my husband, so he already knew I was vulnerable.
Got you.
So I ran and hid in the bathroom for what seemed like an hour, eternity. It was probably like 3 minutes. I don't know.
Okay.
Right.
And it felt like an hour.
Right. And I went back to my desk, and he whipped it out again. And I don't remember how I got to my desk. It's just the next thing I remember.
Okay.
And I said, I can't do this. This is who I used to be. Like, I can't do this. I don't want to lose my job. And had an affair for the next 18 months. So now that's a new addiction. Right. And
yeah, because of the
And I remember the last time hitting the pipe when I was using, God, how am I ever going to stop?
Okay.
I remember saying that, sitting on the couch with him as he's doing his sermon in the church Saturday night before Sunday, and thinking, God, how am I ever going to stop? So my higher power loved me enough. I say that he shined his marvelous light in the darkest areas of my life, and we got caught. And that was the beginning of my recovery. And I know we're almost out of time, but
when you say the beginning of your recovery,
I had to get a sponsor. I had to work my steps. I had to be accountable. I had to make amends. And I've done, some crazy amends. I made it with the pastoral church people at the church. We had a healing and healing ceremony at the church. I went to work for a treatment center after that.
Yeah.
And I thanked her like 10 years later when I was leaving, saying, you don't know how you saved my life. Like, I was dying inside and feeling shame and guilt, but you let me be like the house manager, like the nighttime house manager, weekend house manager. You know what I mean?
Purpose.
Yeah. So I got my sponsor and slowly but surely over the next few years, like, made some amends. One lady was an elder, and she said she couldn't take communion until she like addressed it with me and said that like she lost 10 months of her baby's life because when she got the call, she was breastfeeding her baby and had to put the baby down. Now, church people can say you can sue, and to recover, my sponsor said, no, girl, big black one. No, girl, you're taking responsibility for that.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah, some of that is her own stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, exactly. You chose to be on the board. That's not my fault. But, over a period of like 10 years, certain just things, I was, we did a Q&A at my new church about how to provide a safe environment for people who are in the church or work in the church. And I got to tell my story, and they had no idea they were going to learn so much about the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous on that Sunday morning.
It's good. They probably needed it. Everybody needs a little 12 step.
And, my husband, the last service was a 6 p.m. service. It was in the gym. It was hot. Fans were going, and he snuck in, and he got to hear me talk about the reality of I was suicidal. Right, there were times where in California I was driving to my aunt's house and I could have gone off the cliff. My mom was already gone. Nobody really cared. I felt like nobody cared about me.
Right.
And I could have just like driven and nobody would know, like, because I wore the badge of shame. Hi, my name's Theresa. I'm an addict. This is what I've done. But through step work and the trust of my higher power, it became, hi, my name's Theresa. I'm an addict, and this is what God is doing through me. And being able to share the step work and the stuff that I've learned with not people just in recovery, but people at church, you know. I believe that everybody could use the 12 steps, not just an addict or an alcoholic. That's where Celebrate Recovery comes in.
Right.
And that last
habits or hangups.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
And that last service, my ex-husband was there hiding behind a divider. And I was going to like be on the prayer team after I was done. And he just caught me and he said, I love you so much. You are so forgiven. And
I bet that was freeing.
Oh, you have no idea. No idea.
Yeah.
And we're great friends. I wish I could be better friends with him, but he's chosen to do whatever he does, and struggles in his own areas. And I'm remarried now. And so
Life's moved on.
Yeah.
But the lesson that you learn from it is an invaluable one, and it's a powerful message for people that are listening.
Yeah.
It's possible to be abstinent and still
involved in service and still have a behavior or an unmet behavior, right?
Yeah. 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 And I would say for everybody defines recovery different, right? But I believe you can be abstinent and not truly be in recovery, because to me, recovery is like working on yourself, doing some type of self-work or self-progress. And so for me, it's different. And listen, did you reuse a chemical? No, but you acted out on behaviors that, right? And so it's just kind of cool. It spreads a powerful message that the importance of having an accountability partner, the importance of doing the work, whatever that personal work is, to become a better person all around, not just don't do drugs.
Right. And that's why 28 years clean, I still go to meetings. I still do step work. I'm accountant. My sponsor's in California, and we do some concept study on Monday nights through Zoom. Thank goodness for COVID.
And you're still networking.
Alive. Yes.
Because part of coming on today was a mutual friend referred you and
yes,
said that you were an amazing speaker and it would be great to have you on the podcast. We got about 2 minutes left here. I really appreciate you coming on, being very vulnerable and willing to share your story. So today your recovery looks like meetings.
So today I work at a dental office where lots of people come in. It's such a blessing. I go to a few meetings a week. I think when I came here, I jumped in service. I'm on the convention committee for SWACNA programming, and I got these 2 like main meetings, and I've wondered why I haven't met people because I go to those 2 meetings. So I'm trying to switch it up, go to
Branch
different
out.
meetings and meet people. I do a H&I at Desert Haven. So I have to meet people
Beautiful.
to bring in my speakers. And so I just do whatever I can to make myself uncomfortable because meeting people is hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard. You know, people, you can tell by talking, people are like, you cannot claim to be shy, but I am. Right? You have no idea what's going on in the inside. When I first got here today, I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, but I've done that. I go to church. I go to South Mountain Community Church and praying every day to start Celebrate Recovery. Hang out with Christy and Paco at Revival City on Friday nights, you know.
It's amazing. So
Yeah.
St. George, we have a powerful recovery community here
We
in St. George,
do.
Utah.
And we
Reach
also
out to
have Sand
Theresa.
Hollow, though.
Yeah,
That is fun in recovery. You got to add fun in recovery. We have a Jeep and we go rock crawling.
beautiful.
And it is one of the best. Yeah.
So you like getting out in the outdoors like me?
Yes. That's why I was up north, and that's why I came to St. George because it's way too cold up there. And so down here, it's going to get warm. I know it's going to get warm.
It's going to be real warm. Well, listen, Theresa, we got about 10 seconds left here. I truly thank you so much for coming on. I'm very grateful to have you on and share your story.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, everybody, join us in 2 weeks from now for episode 149.
Thank you for joining us today on We Do Recover with Jared Miller.
Help us spread our message of hope. Like, comment, and share.
If you have any topics or ideas for future shows, please share that on our Facebook page.
That Facebook page is We Do Recover with Jared Miller. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to us. Again, thank you for listening.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center, Rise Up Sups, and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast do not reflect those of its sponsors. This has been a production from a podcast studio.